Chinese restaurants in the United States than McDonald's, Burger Kings, and KFC's combined. Generally, they're tucked away in small, ambiguous storefronts. Hi, my name is David Cook, and these restaurants tell an American story of finding a new home, evolving, and thriving. I wanted to start by introducing you to the origins. Chinese cooking dates back centuries, but Chinese food was first introduced to America and San Francisco in the 19th century. Many Chinese immigrated in search of jobs, hoping to strike a rich gold miner, who's someone helping build the railroads, which is a job they found quite often. Chinese immigrants were the lower class workers, often segregated and discriminated upon. As a result, there was a necessity for businesses owned by Chinese for Chinese, and one of the businesses that they got into a lot of times was restaurants. This was the first original Chinese restaurant boom. In San Francisco, some of the restaurants were chic, sophisticated, and catered only to Chinese clientele. However, most of the restaurants were established in small, working-type towns. And here's an example of one of the early restaurants. It functioned as a general store as well. And in this town, Chinese culture and food was completely unknown. So that's really where the food began to evolve, using local ingredients and to locals' tastes. Generally, these restaurants would have two menus, one for Chinese, one for American, which sometimes some restaurants still do, but it's generally the American one that is taken over. And these differences in these palates are again what has led to the American food we know today. One of the books I read doing research on this was Chop Suey, written by Andrew Cho. They offer a really serious anthropological view. In Chop Suey, one of the earliest American travelers in China is quoted to saying, "The food smelled like putrefied garlic on a much-used blanket," which isn't a very good description. But later 19th century travelers mention it uses a lot of oil, which sounds a lot like today's Chinese food that I know. Differences in ingredients ensured the evolution of American Chinese food. So traditional Chinese cuisine was cooked treating vegetables and rice as the main components of the dish, and just using a little bit of meat or fish. And they had different ingredients native to China, obviously, than we have today, such as broccoli and tomatoes are not native to China. They're big components today in our food. It also incorporated lots of canned fruit, and that was because that's what was available and the customers liked the sweetness. Alright, it was not just the cooking that the customers enjoyed about Chinese restaurants. The Chinese restaurants succeeded for many reasons. One being that they catered to anyone. They were not discriminatory towards anyone because they had experienced that discrimination. So during World War II, there was another boom in the Chinese restaurants because many immigrants coming, find this exotic, inviting environment, and they come and they enjoy it. So, what's the future of Chinese food? Will it take off in other foreign markets? Will it be adapted and then changed there? So first I want to look at where Chinese food is today. Today it has a distinctly American identity, and it's made its way back to China. Shanghai's Fortune House is an American-owned, operated Chinese restaurant in Shanghai. Before I talk about that, here's just an image of New York, all the Chinese restaurants there. So that really took off. And here's the Shanghai's Fortune House Cookie in Shanghai, which is set out to fill the niche for expats living in China. So the food that they serve there is actually not palatable to the locals. They don't like it. It's too sweet, and they really don't even know what a fortune cookie is, which is interesting. So in its return to its homeland, it has been changed to an unpalatable